What is our fourth main topic today?
Okay, this comes from Jeremy Wright. Hey, John. So it's not surprising that the 355 did badly at the box office, but I gotta say, it is surprising just how badly it did. The movie didn't make $5 million opening weekend. How could a movie with Jessica Chastain, Lupita Nyong'o, Sebastian Stan, and so many other big names flop this hard? Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
All right, thanks for sending this in. And I think it was last week we were talking about the 355, and I was saying this isn't. I mean, all of us were saying this is not going to do well. And when asked what I think it's going to do, I said I think I'm being generous when I say 15 million. I didn't realize how generous I was being. Like 3 times generous. This movie came out, this big Hollywood feature film with some of the biggest names and biggest stars, including like Winter Soldier himself, Sebastian Stan, along as with one of the most impressive female casts we've seen in a movie in a long time. And the movie makes $4.8 million at the box office.
Ouch.
That's a huge ouch. I will go on and say that is, in recent Hollywood history, one of the biggest flops in recent Hollywood history. So in the post-mortem, the question becomes, why? How? How did this movie do so badly? We understand it's terrible. A lot of terrible movies can still make more than $4.8 million. I want to suggest there are a couple of probably contributing factors to this. Let's get the big obvious one out of the way. A lot of films are having a hard time the last couple of years, pandemic, what have you. Okay, so that's a factor. I personally think the biggest factor, not to it doing badly, because it was going to do badly regardless, but to it doing this badly, has more to do, something to do with, I think a lot of people just forgot this film. Here's a little thing for you. The first trailer for the 355 came out in October of 2020. October of 2020 is when the marketing campaign went into full gear for the 355. And it's summed up best in my conversation with my wife about it the other day when I asked, hey, you interested in going to see maybe the theaters this week and going to see the 355? She goes, what's that? And I explained it to her. She goes, wait, didn't that come out like a year ago? I'm like, no, it never did. And then they clearly did not get a commitment for a true, really good marketing budget again for this relaunch because it just flew under a lot of people's radars. Now, again, I'm not saying that's why it did badly. I think it was going to do badly regardless. But when you combine that, because some films have done better at relaunching than others. Like some films have been pushed dates and then they remount a serious new ad campaign, get things going. This didn't really get that. Its ads were here and there, whatever, but it didn't really happen. There's also another kind of angle to this that I think is interesting that the folks over at Forbes gave us. But in talking about an all-female spy-like action thing, the folks at Forbes wrote the following. Why would moviegoers drive to theaters for the 355 when they can watch Karen Gillan's Gunpowder Milkshake, which was supposed to be in theaters? Chastain's Ava, which had a limited release before breaking out on VOD. Mary Elizabeth Winstead's Kate and Kate Beckinsale's Jolt, along with Maggie Q's theatrical, but now VOD, the Protege, which I really love, At Home. The spy flick will presumably be available on PVOD in about 2.5 weeks. I imagine the casually curious are just waiting. Now, again, I don't think that's because there's so many, if you're in the mood for a female spy action-centric movie, because there are so many options right now on a lot of streaming, I don't think that's the prevailing thing, but it's another thing. And I think when you start adding up poorly rolled out marketing campaign in trying to relaunch, the fact that the first trailer came out literally in 2020, the fact that a lot of people didn't even realize it was coming, the fact that apparently it's quite awful. I still haven't brought myself to go watch it. I've just, a lot of people I know telling me, John, we know what you movies you like. You're going to hate this because we hated it. So it's done very poorly on that level. The fact that there are these other options, all this kind of stuff, I still don't know how to explain it only making 4.8. I mean, that's ridiculously low, but I think it all kind of adds up to that thing. We want to take a second and thank a sponsor of this video, Hello Fresh. Now, listen, guys, if you are anything like me or Ann, Ann and I are both working professionals. We don't have a lot of time. And what that often meant was when it would come to dinner time, we would either settle with making subpar meals or ordering fast food way too much. I like fast food once in a while, but we were eating fast food way too much. That's why something like HelloFresh was an absolute godsend for us. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. Listen, with HelloFresh, you'll be cooking and eating great looking and great tasting meals without the hassle of going to the grocery store and trying to remember everything you need to get on the recipe list, and you'll be paying less. And look, I get it. You are probably saying to yourself or saying to me through the screen, John, you don't get it. I don't know how to cook. I'm telling you, with HelloFresh, you can. Because the packages don't just come with all the ingredients properly portioned out already for you, but they also include clear, easy to follow instructions with images that you'll have no problems following. In 30 minutes or less, you'll be eating great and feeling pretty damn good about yourself looking at the meal that you prepared. So right now, guys, go on over to HelloFresh.com/Campea16 and use the code Campea16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. That's 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. So HelloFresh, everybody, America's #1 meal kit. Rob, we've been talking a lot about the 355 lately and about how...
Not in a good way.
Not in a good way. And the fact that we had low expectations. I am a Simon Kinberg fan. I mean, I think when you go down his list of work as a producer and as a writer, he's got a couple of rotten eggs on there for sure, but he's also got some fantastic films in there as well. I have been cheering for him. My own thing is this. In the NFL, I always bring to a sports analogy. A lot of times they say when you draft a hot rookie quarterback, what do they say? Don't start him right away. You're going to ruin him. Let him sit on the bench behind a vet. Let him get his feet under him, then launch him. Because if you put them out there too early, we've seen this happen to a lot of NFL quarterbacks. Some rookies come out and they're great right out of the gate, but a lot of rookie quarterbacks, they get thrown in before they're ready. I think Simon Kinberg was thrown, and he did it himself, into directing a big tentpole X-Men film when he had never directed another film ever in his life. I thought that was too big of a project. And instead of learning great lessons from it and bringing those lessons over to 355, it kind of looks like he's a ruined quarterback at this point in some ways. I know, Rob, you see the results of the 355s again. What do you attribute it to?
Well, I think you summed it up nicely, but I really think that if this movie was good and it had great word of mouth,
winning
and people
cures everything.
Winning cures everything. And it's back to your sports analogy. I just think, look, this movie was tailor-made for my interests, my subset of genres that I like. The spy action thriller, the female spy action thriller, all the way back to Luc Besson's La Femme Nikita and The Professional. I mean, and I love Jessica Chastain. As a matter of fact, I love Lupita Nyong'o. I loved the cast of this movie is great.
Amazing.
And for you to make a film, I mean, I read a number of reviews about this, and it had really lackluster reviews. And what's interesting to me is this is a genre that's well-traveled, as Forbes pointed out. And you should be looking at these things. There's no excuse to write a spy thriller, if it's female-oriented or male-oriented or whoever's orientation it is, that is lackluster in this day and age, because there's lots of material to look at and go, there's this, and this, and if we're going to do this, we have to be better than these movies. Otherwise, why make the film? So, unfortunately, everybody takes a bath on this, and then it's going to be even harder to get a female ensemble movie made again that's like this. And that's the real bummer, is that, when you have such a great cast, talk about a diverse cast, a cast that is made up of incredible actresses, to squander that kind of talent makes it harder to make a movie like this in the future. And that's the bummer. You
raise a really great point, because look at what happened with R-rated comic book movies. Because there were a number of R-rated comic book movies that nobody talks about anymore because they all struggle. Like even Watchmen for Warner Brothers struggled at the box office, a number of other R-rated comic book movies. And so that made the studios believe, well, the problem is R-rated comic book movies. And so it took a while for studios to start trying R-rated comic book movies, even though the rating wasn't the problem in the first place.
Right.
And I think you're right. I think this is going to hurt that too, because I think they're going to say, oh, well, look, if they did the 355 and it failed. Well, it might have been a lot of other things. It wasn't the fact that it was a female-led action film. There were other female-led action films that would do well, but I'm afraid it might
Look at
set it
Lucy.
back.
Look at Scarlett Johansson in Lucy.
Kim, you have taken a look at this. You've seen how badly this thing is flopped. What's the first thing that comes to your head? Like if someone comes up to you and says, why do you think this thing failed so immensely badly at the box office? What would you respond to that?
You know what's weird is that I'm one of those where like there's so many movies to see, but if there's a bad review, it just might send me away from the theaters with all the things streaming and other movies I have to see. My list is so long, I might go, wow, everyone's saying it's bad. I might skip this one. For some reason, I still want to give this a try. And not because I think it's going to be great, but I need to give it a fair shot for myself and go, why did this do so bad? Because it's not just that it did bad. I'd say if it did like 12 million, I might have said, you know what, I'll wait till VOD. The fact that it was so bad makes me actually want to go see it and go, I got to see for myself. What happened here? What happened here? It's disappointing because this cast is amazing.
It's so good.
This cast is amazing. And Rob, you brought up a great point that it's going to make it harder when you screw this up, because actors always talk about certain films and certain actors. You open the door for us to do this. There would be no X had there been a Y. And honestly, I'm like, come on, man. I want to see more female-led spy thrillers. But for me, like the trailers, her monologue, that voiceover was so corny. I just felt like, be badass out the gate. Stop talking so much. Let's just see the action. Let's see these girls throw down. And for me, that was a huge turnoff. So I actually am going to see this because I got to see for myself.
Here's an interesting thing. I went back and watched the original trailer that came out in 2020. It was so much better than the trailers they put out recently. Have you seen those too?
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I wanted to see this movie.
So did I.
I mean, I saw the trailer. I'm like, oh, this is right up my alley. You know, the only thing that Simon Kinberg, I mean, he's written so many good things, but for me, between Invasion, his new TV series, and this, I'm like, bruh, come on, man, you're squandering some great opportunities here.
Yeah.
Even though the Invasion, I know, got season 2 from Apple. I'll watch it because I'm using it as a sleep aid, but I hope it's better.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Do you think I'm being too harsh by calling it like one of the most biggest significant flops in recent Hollywood history? I mean, it's obviously not number one, but I think it's right up there. Did you have a chance to see yourself? What did you think about it? What do you contribute this level of failure to? Whatever you guys are feeling, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts.